This is Always in Escrow with Serena Appel and Colby Burchin. Colby, it's amazing to be with you today.
Serena, today is such an experience for our audience, for ourselves. I'm thrilled for this guest.
As am I, because we are joined by Dr. Willard Wigan MBE. He is a member of the Order of the British Empire, the world's greatest record breaking microscopic artist whose philosophy, Small Things Matter, continues to inspire and educate globally. Willard, welcome to our show.
It's an absolute pleasure, Serena, to be on your show, Kobe, to take part in this podcast, to get a message out there for people to hear what I went through so it can release a medicine of inspiration.
That's exactly what it did for my family. Serena, my family and I were watching nightly news a couple weeks ago, and I happened to see the broadcast about Willard, and it was so inspirational. I reached out to Willard, and I was just so touched by him. And I want Willard to explain what he does so everyone could follow and understand. How did your philosophy, Small Things Matter, shape your journey as a microscopic artist?
So the reason why I say small things matter is important because I come from a background of small things matter. I come from a background of you are nothing. My school teachers would have a habit of traumatizing you with their words. They'd say, "You are a despicable little young boy, and all the children in the school need to understand what failure is. So, therefore, I'm going to exhibit you as failure, and all the children will understand who you are because I already know who you are. So, therefore, you will abide by the rule failure because that's what you are." So it was like they tried to break me or bury me, you see. So I was buried by the school system. So if you bury a seed, you know what happens if you bury a seed? It grows. So I grew into a beanstalk, and the branches branched off into my career, my journey, branched off into me becoming a doctor, branched off into becoming an MBE. It branched off to me becoming the greatest micro artist in the world. It branched off for me to make world records. It branched off for me to be inspirational. It branched off for me to be successful in my whole life. So when they buried me, they made a mistake. They made a mistake because they don't understand. Sometimes the best comes from where you least expect. That's why when you least expect to see something, the small thing can make the biggest things happen in our lives. So that's why I wanted to get that message out there as small things matter. Because it matters, because that's where we come from. Now, if you look at our hands are small. Look at the biggest, tallest building in the world in Dubai, the Burj, right? Look at these ginormous cruise liners, right? Some of them are just like a little city on the sea. You know what I mean? What built them? What built them? Your hands. When you get on a jumbo jet and it takes you from one end of the world to the other, from here to Australia, whatever, your hands built it.
Show our audience how small your artwork is so the people on YouTube could see what you're dealing with.
In this needle here, if you can see, I'll just show viewers. Inside that needle, there is a little girl holding a butterfly, and she's in a field full of flowers. She has a beautiful white dress with the nice gold patterns on her dress. She has gold shoes, and she's got a smile on her face, and she's got blonde hair, and she's holding a butterfly, and she's about 4 times smaller than a period stop in a magazine. Okay? Now, if you saw this needle, you'd just say it's just a needle. But if you put it into the microscope, what it'll do, the impact will be so big that it'll challenge your belief system. It'll challenge it. And I know the reason why I make sculptures so small. Because I make them because, number one, I make them because I know the effect it has on people. And also, it gives me a voice through my hands. My voice speaks for me, my hand speaks for me. And also, I inspire people with it. I let people understand that, there's no such thing as can't.
So tell our audience about the time that you met the Queen of England.
That was the biggest moment for me, I would think. When I was invited to Buckingham Palace, it was 2012, during the Queen's Diamond Jubilee. I decided to make something for the Queen. I made the Queen a tiny little crown on a pinhead. You couldn't see it, of course. And it was in a beautiful microscope, so she could view it. And I remember getting a letter from Buckingham Palace. Dear Willard Wigan, I shall be honoured, and it'll be such a pleasure to receive such a wonderful gift. I'm so looking forward to seeing it. And I'm like, I was so happy. I was thinking, oh, yeah. It's like you want to pinch yourself, or you think the alarm clock's going to go off. It's some kind of dream, I remember the day it came for me to go to the palace, and I went to the palace. I brought the microscope with me. And I remember going to the courtyard. I went to the gate, and the guards, I said, I'll come to the Queen. And they said, no, you can't come to the Queen. I said, I can. And I showed them the letter. And they went, oh, okay. And then they let me through, and I saw the crest, the logo, the Queen's logo. And then they let me in. And then I went straight down through the courtyard into the reception area, and I sat there. And I was thinking, my school teachers told me that I would be nothing. And here I am right now in Buckingham Palace waiting to see the Queen. And then the Queen came, and she said, oh, I've been so looking forward to seeing this wonderful gift. And I said, thank you, Majesty. And I says, if you look here, it says, could I see it? And I says, it's in the microscope. My hands are like kind of shaking a little bit. I've normally got steady hands, but I'm going. So it's over here. And then she went over, and she peered into the microscope. And all I heard was, good heavens, it's beyond one's comprehension. How does one make something so small? And I'm like, she says, I don't quite understand what I'm seeing, but I'm seeing it. It is beyond belief. How does one do it? So it took a long time. I told her that I have to work between my heartbeat and hold my breath and all that. And she kept looking. And she says, I shall treasure it. I shall take it away with me and put it in my private studies. And she says, it's the most amazing, smallest gift I've ever had. Thank you so much. And shook my hand. And then she said, I still can't quite understand what I saw. I'm like,
Oh my goodness.
from the time I was 5 years of age and I started making furniture for ants, the beginning of my journey, I made this tiny, tiny chair for an ant. Then I made them little houses because my dog destroyed a ant's nest, so I thought I needed to help the ants. So I started making all these little houses for ants, thinking they'd move in and they'd accommodate these houses. They never paid me no rent. I became a landlord for ants, you know. But the journey started from there. When the little girl next door looked over the fence and saw what I did, and she went, "Wow, that's the bestest." And when I heard that word, the bestest, it's like kids would say the bestest, you know. And it was like being in a shower and each droplet of water washed away everything that was said about me that was bad at school. So I took that on board. It's like a charge. It's like a putting fuel into a Bugatti Veyron. You know, you just put you filled it up and it started to move because that I needed someone to sort of give me that medicine of inspiration and advice. And my mother said to me, "You make your sculptures smaller, your name's going to get bigger." So that's all I needed. Just those few words was enough for me to become the greatest micro artist in the world. And the bad news is, I'm getting better.
You bring tears to my eyes. It's you're so amazing.
Thank you so much, Kobe. It's a pleasure to talk to you. Anyway, I mean, I ain't done talking yet, but it's a pleasure because there's so much more to me. Because my autism was playing havoc with me. It played havoc with me. I didn't know what it was. I wasn't diagnosed with autism till I was 50. I couldn't read the time till I was 18 years of age. I couldn't read the time. And I realized that having a learning difference made no difference to me because it opened up a door with the smallest key. You couldn't see that key, but it opened up a door bigger than Mount Everest. And that was the key to my life and the key to my journey and the key to me being who I am.
Willard, tell our audience where's your next show? Where could people look at your art?
Well, I would like to say to your audience this. I want to come to the US to put on an exhibition. I want to come to show them the most dynamic micro art exhibition they've ever seen. I have stuff that they haven't seen yet. And if anybody has a great big organization, a big company, a big room, or anywhere, fly me over so I can go to the Cheesecake Factory. And
That's
I like sitting down and just seeing different people walk by. So I'm ready to do an exhibition. Any you guys, sponsors out there, bring me over. I'll come over. I will come over. It'll be a pleasure to come over and put on a show.
And do you have any shows in London right now?
Yeah, I have stuff coming up. I have one in Nottingham, and I'm going to be due to do one in Birmingham, and one at another stately home, which we're waiting on now. So I have a lot of stuff ready to go, but I do a lot of motivational speaking. I go into schools, talk to kids with autism, talk to children who need to hear something motivational, so it burns the fire inside of them. You see what I mean? So I do a lot of that, and I'm going to break another record. Yeah, and I want to put the Pied Piper inside the eye of a needle, and I want to put the Pied Piper and 25 children dancing inside the eye of a needle. That's what I'm aiming to do. My pleasure is not doing the work because it's painstaking. I don't enjoy doing it. I enjoy finishing it because it drives me mad. 16 hours a day I spend through that microscope, holding my breath as still as possible. And, sometimes I just think to myself, I'm going to fall asleep. And I sometimes fall asleep, my eyes pressed against the microscope, and I have these two round circles in my eyes afterwards. But then when I finish the work and I look down the microscope and I see, and then I know the effect that it has on people. I think one of the best compliments I had was a boxer, a guy by the name of Joe Egan. He used to spar with Mike Tyson, big Irish guy. When he saw my work, he started to cry. I says, "What's the matter?" He says, "I've never been knocked out until I've seen your work." That's a boxer, you know.
That's amazing. Well, we thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you both so much, and
We appreciate you
it's a pleasure.
and your remarkable work.